looking for this?
Welcome back to BoomShot. I'm Kale. This is Colby,
sir.
and Dave Filoni cooked. That's about where I want to leave it right there. I guess we could just go ahead and leave it right there if you want to.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni cooked. Episode 5 is great.
Big spoilers.
Yeah, big spoilers. Definitely. We're going to go ahead and talk about this episode, everything we liked about it, because we didn't dislike much.
Yeah.
This is great. So let's go ahead and talk about that starting now. All right, man. You know the question. What'd you think?
Incredible.
Yes.
Incredible. And the amount of hype building up to this, you said it before we started watching it. It's probably the most hype for any Star Wars since The Force Awakens, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And they delivered.
Yeah.
Because you could say Mandalorian Season 2, and I feel like a lot of the hype was after we saw the episode with Luke and everything. I think the pre-hype for this is since Force Awakens. And it's hard to deliver on something like that, and they did.
Yeah. And the show has built up so well toward where it's at now. Like, It didn't arrive here by being super boring, and then finally it decides to pick up. No, every episode has been... The worst episode has been episode 3, and it wasn't bad at all. Like, it was still really good. Yeah. It's built up so well. Episode 1 and episode 2, by the way, 2 episode releases, I guess, are just way better than 1 episode releases. Because this show, I think, is getting a lot better traction for people coming back as well.
Yeah, and I feel like you said, they built up to it very well, and also like the world between worlds, it wasn't a shock to people who had seen Rebels. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it was a pretty smooth transition. And they also put a guide out if you hadn't seen, and I'm sure it explained that.
Yeah,
like episodes to watch type thing. So, yeah, man, it's incredible. It's hard to deliver, and they did.
Yeah, and we can't go long without talking about the elephant in the room that is Anakin Skywalker. Yes. Take me back, dude. And really sexy Rexy, dude.
Yes. I was hoping we'd see him, and we did. We did. Well, we didn't see his face, but we know who that is. Yeah,
that was definitely Papa Rex. I mean, you could see his helmet, and it looked Chez Magnifique. It looked beautiful.
And you could hear his voice. That was definitely Tamora Morrison, I would say. And I'm glad they brought him in. I mean, he deserved it.
They brought Hayden in as Anakin. They brought Tamara in as the clones. We got to see a lot of clones. We got to see some Phase 1 troops. We got to see some 332nd as well. We got to see even young Ahsoka.
Yeah. We saw, so I guess 2 different flashbacks. Siege of Mandalore, and I guess like one of their first battles. Mm-hmm. So she was definitely, the beginning of her training then. That was cool to see.
Yeah.
Early on. Yeah,
so, I mean, let's just talk about, I guess, really where it all began. So, the episode opens, they're still looking for Ahsoka or whatever. But really, where it really begins is with Ahsoka in the world between worlds. She's facing Anakin or whatever. And what we predicted is we had a couple like theories that this was going to be kind of like a one last lesson thing. Some people were saying that Anakin is a Mortis god. We'll talk about that.
Still could be.
Still could be. Some people. What else did we say that this was a dream?
The dream. Yeah, I mean
that Anakin was actually a dark side character.
Yeah, either the son or just like Vader, which he kind of was.
Yeah, exactly. So really, the moral of the story is we were right. That's the moral.
Yeah, I mean, we threw a lot of theories out there. I feel like we were kind of right with each of them, like kind of an amalgamation of our theories.
Yeah, exactly.
Turned out to be.
But really, the theory that we were most right about, that this was really one last lesson.
Yeah, and that was really cool to see. I was hoping they would go that direction, and they said something very, very similar. Mm-hmm. I think he said the word lesson, which was cool to see. Or training.
This is your last training, and she said something like, "You never finished my training" or something like that. But that was the point, is that she really, I guess Ahsoka was about to die, and I guess if you're about to die and you're a Jedi, you just go to the world between worlds.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess it's still open-ended. It reminded me of Rocket.
Yeah.
When Rocket was dying in Guardians 3 and Lila's there, kind of like Anakin in this episode, be like, hey, there's still more work you got to do.
Yeah.
Back on Earth,
So, but she was about to die, and he's like, I'm shocked to see you here so soon. And she's like, what are you talking about? that was like the whole last lesson, is that she had to learn whether she wanted to live or wanted to die.
Yeah. And Anakin said that she lost. And then she remembered, and he's like, well, that's a good sign.
Yeah. So that means you do have hope. That means that somewhere your brain is still operating. And the whole last lesson is, hey, are you going to live or are you going to die? And he takes her back through these moments that are pivotal in her story with Anakin. And we get to see her in the Clone Wars, and she leads a bunch of troops into battle, and all of them, not all of them, but a lot of them get hurt. And we see this cool, like, oh, it's so good. This moment between Anakin and Ahsoka, it felt like I was watching Clone Wars in live action, dude.
Any interaction they had was great, and also the interaction with the dying clone.
Yes.
When she walked over there and put her hand on the clone, and he put his hand on hers. I mean, that was just. I love that Dave Filoni put that in there because that was a big theme of Clone Wars. Was her connection to the clones.
And I think the thing for me that this episode just felt like the richness that we've seen in Star Wars before, like the storytelling, the lore, the acting, like the selling the entire thing, just felt that's what felt the most Star Warsy thing about it. Like young Ahsoka was fantastic, dude. Yeah, and she was great. Like I don't think we even mentioned her. Like we just said that she was good, but like the actress, whoever played young Ahsoka, we don't have her off the top of our head, is amazing.
It was great. I mean, because we saw 7 seasons of Clone Wars and in animation, so to have 2 different actors portray those characters in live action, that's not an easy thing to do. And and the chemistry I felt like was there. It felt like we were back in our childhood.
Yeah, there was one interaction that I want to talk about that that Anakin and Ahsoka had. And it's in that same moment where she's on the planet, or like they're talking about losing soldiers or whatever. And Anakin was like, or Ahsoka's like, "Am I gonna have to train my Padawan to be a warrior?" And Anakin's like, "You want a Padawan?" And Ahsoka's like, I mean, yeah. And he's like, well, training's not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah.
And she's like, what do you mean by that? And I was like, dude, that is so, like, that's the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni was absolutely writing fire whenever he was doing that.
I can just imagine Dave Filoni writing that.
And like, almost chuckling. He's like, dude, this is going to get him.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm just like a giddy kid, dude. Like, this is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wish we could see more, but at the same time, I'm glad that... And something we haven't talked about, Ahsoka the White.
Yeah.
Which Dave Filoni has mentioned in the past. So I guess up until halfway through this episode, she was Ahsoka the Grey.
Yeah.
Kind of like, Gandalf. And we can see the difference instantly as soon as she comes back in the water and they save her.
But that's what the lesson she had to learn is at the beginning, Anakin's like, hey, the lesson is live or die. And she's like, and he pulls out his lightsaber like he's going to fight her. And she's like, I don't want to fight you. And so immediately her mind goes to this thing that she's some kind of warrior. Like that's immediately where she goes. And after she, disarms Anakin, he like cuts the thing, and that's where they go into the flashback. And by the end, they come to the point where Anakin's like, it's live or die, and she's like, I choose to live.
Yeah.
And so in view of everything that she knows about what Anakin became, she finally was able to let go of the fact that she had no part in that. It wasn't her fault, or there was nothing that she could have done to stop Anakin's fall.
Yeah, and that's something we mentioned in the live stream is like she feels guilty really for Anakin's fall, and then consequently the fall of the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like her and Rebels didn't have time to grasp that fully because she was still fighting. She had to fight for her life, and then she got to the peak of the mountain. The Rebels won. She's like, my big brother isn't here.
Yeah.
And I think that's really when we saw Ahsoka the Grey. And I think Rosario Dawson portrayed that perfectly.
She did.
And then she comes back, Ahsoka the White, and we see more of like the Clone Wars Ahsoka. And you can tell instantly. I mean, it's just perfect.
And the ironic part about all of this is that people, I've seen people all over the place saying that she's so one-dimensional and she's so boring and she's ruining Ahsoka. And the whole point of that is like the more you know, the more you know. And they had no idea that this is what they were building up to. And now people will be like, oh, that's a cheap payoff. But no, it's really not. Like, it's not at all. Like, with Mandalorian Season 2, like, getting her to seeing her, like, refuse to train Grogu, I don't think she would do that now. I think that she would probably be willing to train Grogu at this point. And that's the transition that she finally has that weight off her shoulders that she doesn't have to. She didn't fail Anakin, and she didn't fail anybody else. Like, she has that weight off of her shoulders now. So she can live almost free. Yeah,
there's so much to talk about, man. But, like, was that really Anakin, or was that like a manifestation of the Force in her head? I mean, was it Mortis?
Yeah, is Anakin the Mortis god now? Like, and how if so, how would that work? Like, how does all this? I don't know. I'm at a loss for words, man.
Yeah, what's crazy is I don't think we'll see any more of it this season. So there's going to be a lot of theories going around.
Shed, but
it's going to be a good thing, I think, to have some theories floating around. People are going to be talking about it, which is
is good for Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's been people have been calling Star Wars a joke recently because of everything that's been going on, and I think this is kind of a wake up call that hey, as long as people who love Star Wars are writing Star Wars is still alive.
Oh yeah,
and that's been the problem is that Disney's probably tried to cash in a little bit too much on some stuff. And didn't put the people who really love Star Wars in charge. But now, we see with the shows like Andor, people who love Star Wars, with Ahsoka, people who love Star Wars, even Mandalorian, like we've seen glimpses of what Star Wars can be. So I hope we get to see more of that, and I hope it stays in the conversation.
And to that point, shout out Dave Filoni.
Yeah,
Dave Filoni, the true apprentice to George Lucas.
Yes.
He cooked again.
Yeah, he did cook.
He's cooking, bro. This man's running a restaurant. With
I mean, he's Walter White out here, dude. He's running he's really keeping. If Dave Filoni were to stop, a business that's big enough to be listed on the NASDAQ would go belly up, gone. It would be gone. And so, I'm glad that he's still doing his, he's still cooking. He's out here
working,
working.
Man. And I love Dave Filoni. I love that man.
Yeah, I'm so glad. But really, at the very end of the episode, they hop inside of a Purgil, Jonah and the whale type thing. They're gonna go. I guess they're going to some other galaxy. Hopefully, they find Ezra. Imagine they end up in the wrong galaxy. That would be kind of that'd be kind of tough. But
it's like Ahsoka said, it's better to go anywhere than to go nowhere. That line really stuck with me.
Yeah, it definitely did.
So I think for the plot they'll end up in the right spot, but if not, that would be interesting. But
yeah, what do they find? But maybe they find Exegol. Maybe they find Palpatine, dude.
That's how he returned.
Yeah, but really, so they hop inside of Purgil. They're on their way. That's where the episode ends. Is them hopping into Lightspeed, which everything about that moment, the music, the visuals, just like the sense that they're like these Purgil are almost supernatural in a way.
Yeah,
and like getting to see like our characters interacting with such a delicate space animal, I guess.
Yeah, it was cool to see.
It was cool. There was a bond there, and the Purgil didn't say one word, and yet I knew exactly what was about to happen. It was just really cool.
Yeah, and shout out to Jason, dude. My man was hearing the lightsaber fights in the World Between Worlds. That was kind of a sick moment.
Yeah, Jason was in his bag.
He was in his bag. Him and Chopper were just standing on the edge right there, and he's like, "Yo, something's up."
Yeah, really. Do you have any other thoughts on this, or you think we're gonna wrap it up?
Yeah, Rex, if you've watched the channel before, you may know he's my favorite Star Wars character. I would love to see some more Rex at some point in live action.
Amen.
Or Rex at all. I feel like we'll see him in Bad Batch again, but phenomenal.
Yeah, phenomenal.
And I can't wait to see where it goes. I'm glad we got to see Anakin. I feel like we may not see him again for a while, but I want to see how this show finishes. I think it'll be strong because we got Dave Filoni in charge. We got good characters that we never even saw in this episode. Yeah.
Where do you think it goes down? As of right now, where do you think this goes down in Star Wars peak content?
It's at the top of the mountain, dude.
It's up there.
At least, I think for me it's still Clone Wars at the very top.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith, but this is getting up there, dude.
Yeah,
this is climbing the mountain.
It's not quite Rebels level yet, but it's almost there. I would say.
It's not done yet, but even the last 2 episodes, it shows how good it is that it was in theaters. Yeah, it shows a lot of depth too. It's more than just a show for content. There's actual depth, there's actual lessons, there's actual you can tell that there's a lot of effort put into this by everybody who's involved. Yeah. So, and that's what Star Wars is. It was meant to be something that you can take with you in real life. Lessons you can learn watching it. And take with you into real life. Clone Wars having the random quotes that that Dave Filoni would pull out of his butt, those things, but they were so good. And this has me wanting to watch Clone Wars again. Yeah, so. Low-key, I might have to. I just rewatched it over the summer, and I might rewatch it again. Oh man, it's so good. It's so good. So let us know what you guys think. Are you excited for where the show's going? And thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.